everyone, this is Dawn. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to show you how to do a layout using several stamped images. So I'm going to use the Kids with Paws stamp set along with Life's a Hoot and an older stamp set called Let's Paw-ty and some of the Dreammaker papers. So these are the stamp sets. This is Life's a Hoot and this is that old retired stamp set. And I'm going to use some of the cardstock from Dreammaker and some of the pattern papers. All right, along with some of the die cut embellishments from Dreammaker. So these are my pictures. They're of my dogs and my husband with the puppy and with the dogs. And so I have cut this piece of Dreammaker down so that there's a black border. And then I've cut a mat in ballerina for these three pictures. And we'll go ahead and start working on it. Okay, so I just want a tiny pink border around each of these pictures. And I'm pulling the pink from the dog bed on this picture. So I'm going to pull ballerina, and then my other coordinating color is going to be periwinkle. So I'm just lining these up. My printer doesn't print them exactly they're a little bit smaller than 4x4, and then I wanted that white border, so kind of a custom size here. So I'm adhering them and then trimming it down because I want it to be as short as possible so that I can add this to my layout at a diagonal, and I don't want anything hanging over the edges. And then I'm going to mat that again with black, and I'll do the same thing, trim off the excess there, and I think I'll be able to add it without having to clip off either of those corners there. Okay, so I've already adhered that Dreammaker down to the black cardstock. So this splatter piece of Dreammaker is cut at 11.5 by 11.75 so that they can butt against each other in the center. And then I'll go ahead and mat those other two pictures just in black. All right, so now I'm going to bring my Misty in, and I have this large background stamp. It's called Let's Paw-ty, and it's got all kinds of dogs. They're like line drawings of dogs all over this panel. So I'm going to stamp it in periwinkle on this periwinkle patterned paper from Dreammaker. And it's going to be kind of a background layering piece for my sentiment. So go ahead and get all of that stamped out. Now, periwinkle stamps pretty dark for what you think it might stamp, but then as it dries, it lightens up. So don't let it scare you, just go with it. Okay, so I have that stamped out, and I think I like just the single image stamp. And we'll get the Misty cleaned up, and then I'll bring my mini Misty in, and I've already loaded this other stamp in it with some of the Dreammaker cardstock. It's kind of a marbleized cardstock, and this is the ballerina. So I'm going to stamp my sentiment in intense black. I love the way this looks. It's so dark and crisp. I am going to stamp it twice just because I want it super dark. And it says, "My kids are cute and they have paws." Love the way this looks. Okay. You might hear them whining or barking outside the door here. They're not that cute sometimes. Okay, so I have my title, and I'm going to layer it on this other piece of periwinkle that I stamped, and then I'm going to mat it with some black. So I'm just going to go ahead, and this is kind of a cheat for matting. You go ahead and adhere it to the black cardstock, and then just trim off the other side and leave that border. Okay, right, so that will be the title on my page. So bring this in. And then it's kind of disappearing, so I'm going to matte that as well on black. So I'm going to trim it down a little bit and then matte it on black cardstock. Okay, so everything is adhered and matted, and I've added foam tape to the back of each of these photo panels. And then I've got kind of a scrap piece of the Periwinkle Dreammaker cardstock, and then some pieces of the Dreammaker pattern papers. I'm just kind of deciding which side of the pattern I want to use, and I'm going to go with that soft pink with the periwinkle. Okay, so now I've created an overlay from Complete Creativity Close My Heart Cricut collection, and I've cut out this panel. It's dog paws and hearts, and I'm going to use it as a stencil. So I'm just going to trim this down to a more workable size. And I'm going to use this as a stencil. So I'm going to bring my splat box in and some pixie spray and hit it with some pixie spray, which is a low tack spray adhesive. And I'm going to do a little stenciling. So now in retrospect, I should have used flamingo, but I went with ballerina, and I'm just going to choose some random areas, kind of in a triangle design on my layout to do some stenciling. So I'm going to use ballerina ink with a blending brush, and I'm going to create some areas on my background with some stenciling. So once they dried, they're kind of hard to see. They're very subtle. So if I were to do something like this again, I would choose a little bit darker color, but it works. So I'm just creating kind of a visual triangle with my areas of stenciling that will sit underneath my photos. And then off camera, I'll do the right side of the layout as well. Okay. All right, so now both sides are done. Now off camera, I have cut several of these circle, they're kind of wreath, twig wreath circles, and this is also from Complete Creativity Cricut cartridge. There's a couple on the Cricut collection. There's a couple on the Flower Shop or Flower Market cartridge as well. So I've cut several in black cardstock on my Cricut in various sizes. And then I've also pulled this die cut from the Dreammaker collection. That's also the twig wreath image. And I'm going to use 5 of them. Things look better in odd numbers. And I'm just kind of deciding where I want them to be placed on my layout. Okay, so before I glue them down, I'm going to do some more stamping. So I'm deciding where I want my stamping to go, and you kind of have to just visualize where things are going to be layered on top of your stamped images. So I've pulled a bunch of these circles from the Life's a Hoot collection, and it's still available. It's just a stamp set, and this is a really good basics stamp set that you just want to keep in your arsenal all the time. There's some basic, there's a doodled circle and a dashed circle, and then some, I don't know what you call them. They're starbursts, kind of, I guess. And they're just great for adding a little extra something underneath the edge of your photos or different elements on your layout. So I'm stamping these in intense black ink and just putting a bunch of them all over my layout, and then we'll do the same thing on the right panel. So I'm just looking at what I have there and where I want to do my stamping, and you just kind of slide things aside and and just go for it. And also creating visual triangles as I go. So add another one down in that lower left corner. Okay. All right, so I am going to bring in some stickers. Now these are from an older collection called Best Friends Forever. And you could create a similar border using a paw print stamp with white heat embossing on black. But I had these stickers, so I'm going to use them. The Best Friends Forever collection, it's from 2019, I think, but the mini book album kit is still available, and I'll put a link below. Okay, so I've adhered the circles and those border stickers to my layout, and then I'm going to go ahead and put my photos down. I've already added foam tape to the back of each of these. And just go ahead and stick everything down. And I've already glued all of those wreath circles using wet glue to my layout. And then we'll just layer everything up and stick it on down. And wasn't exactly sure about the placement of that, but I did want the corner of that pattern paper to show. So just bringing it down a little bit, and then we'll have both of those on the same plane, so the tops of those photos are even with each other. I'm kind of mimicking the diagonal photos on the left panel with the two pattern pieces underneath that photo on the right side. Okay, I'm going to bring in a few more stickers from this sticker sheet. This one says, "This sweet face," and I'm kind of deciding where I want to put it. And I'm thinking it's going to go right there. And then I'll place a piece of foam tape just under the left side of it so that it sits on the same plane as my photo panel. So half of it is just the sticker part and the other half is popped up. And we'll just bring in a couple of these little sentiment stickers. These say "good girl," mostly good girl. For the 2 seconds they stood still long enough for me to take pictures of them together. Okay, no, they're good. They're getting along. Okay. Then I want to use this dog sticker, but I don't like the red bandana. So I'm going to change it because I didn't have any red on my layout. So I'm going to paint over it with light pink acrylic paint. And just going to paint over that area. And it's a really loose color addition to the sticker, so I didn't have to be precise, but I did go over those black lines with a journaling pen where I went over the lines. And now my dog has a pink bandana. Add that, and then we'll add another sticker. And now I'm going to scatter a whole bunch of these die cuts. These are from Dreammaker. They're the black paperboard die cuts, and I've pulled a whole bunch of the hearts out, and I'm going to scatter a bunch of them around. I like this line drawing, or this line image of the heart, and then a bunch of solid hearts. So instead of using any bling or crystals or anything like that, I'm just going to scatter a whole bunch of black hearts around. And I did kind of go a little crazy, but I like it. So just adding those with some wet glue. And we'll do that to both sides and just create little clusters. Okay, and then for the last step, instead of a lot of journaling, it's my dogs, so there's not a lot to say except their names and the date. So I have cut 2 of these tabs from the Tabs and Tags thin cut set in some more of that marble Dreammaker cardstock, and I've just journaled their names and the date. And we're going to call it done. So I'm going to bring this a little closer to the camera so you can have a closer look, and then I'll have some still photos at the end. So I'll make a list of all the supplies that I use with links in the description below. Dreammaker is available while supplies last until the end of the month. And here's some close-up shots. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it, and then you'll be able to find all of my videos. And I just passed the 400 mark, so there's a lot to choose from in the library. And thanks for watching.